Yeah, so welcome back. My name is Luke McBain. I'm sitting here with Ben Hennessy-Garside. We're just going into our next session on Liminal Farm. And so today we're going to do a live demonstration. I think that was the idea, right? So to
Mm.
do some live metaphorical thinking and to see what happens. This is something we haven't done before. We haven't recorded that. We haven't discussed much about what we're going to do, except that we said we're going to look metaphorically on to what we've done in the last 4 sessions and talk about that metaphorically and to give the viewer a chance also to relate to the metaphor in some way, to see
Mm.
if we can sort of like rediscover something within that. So and we had also now just before starting the recording the idea to say um we're gonna say, well, what if what we've done is a ship, what sort of ship would it be? So that was what we agreed on beforehand, before starting the agreement, but apart from that we didn't do anything. So we're just going to jump into that and see what happens. Is that right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that sounds great. So if the last 4 Liminal Farm sessions were a ship, what would they be?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start now.
No.
Do you want to give it any any more leading up to it?
Uh, I suppose all I would say is for anyone listening in, just note that we've framed the thing with a question so that both of us know where we're starting from, and so that's the piece to take away for anybody listening or watching in, which is you begin with a box, a play space, somewhere to be, and the question is that thing.
And completely unprepared, as we both of us are unprepared
Right.
right now.
Right.
We have no clue
Yeah.
what's going to come up now
Let's see.
from this point onwards.
So,
So what ship would it be? I get a ship where there's I don't know if it's there seems to be something like lockers on this ship or storage facilities, something where you can store things in. Um, I'm hesitant to call it a container ship, but there's definitely this thing that this ship has been sent out to sea, similar like an ark, and it has a certain storage capacity to it. It has a certain storage utility to it. So that's what I'm getting at. I'm getting like this Noah's Ark thing, that this is an ark of some sort, that the last 4 sessions are something we have built and are pushing out to sea in the hope that whatever is on it survives and perhaps is unlocked or is then set free wherever it lands. So that's what I get. Could also be a spaceship.
so I had like a tanker, like a kind of quite slow moving tanker, but like it's got a fairly clear direction. It's not like a super tanker. It's not huge, but it's got a bit of heft to it. And I also feel like, because when you talked about those lockers, there was like what came up with some instruments inside them. So there's like an eyeglass for looking at things that are for looking at things. There's something about viewing phenomena in there's like tools for viewing phenomena, and there's other, like, I'm thinking other kind of scientific implements, and there's also a flag on the ship. There's a flag that's flying, and a spotlight on the deck that's doesn't feel like it's on all the time, but it can be pointed at the flag when it makes sense.
Yeah, I also got that immediate that impression that this is like a tanker, not necessarily a super tanker, but it has that quality of withstanding some seas, some movement, and yes, that it has a direction. It has a direction, and it's not easy to turn it around. It's sort of like set on a certain course, and it's not very its maneuverability isn't very very high. There's heft to it, as you said. There's a sturdiness to it. It's interesting that there's also all this technical stuff going on. Yeah, I think the make of the ship is interesting. That yeah, it's a very technical environment indeed. So but it's also enjoyable to stand on the deck and to enjoy the weather and the view and the wind and all that. So there's part of that. There's something good about the course on which this ship is on. Yeah, although the question of maneuverability is a little bit worrying. I'm worried a little bit about that. I don't know why. It's just I personally don't like things which are not too flexible. So there's this aspect of inflexibility. And heaviness, yeah, that it's very, very heavy.
Yeah, I'm getting a few different passengers as well. There's someone who's like quite an old sort of sea dog type character who kind of they've done this before and they know where they're going, and they kind of like they're happy with the fact it's not too maneuverable. But then there's also on there, I'm getting a kind of young man, and I don't know why, but he's like a kind of English sciencey kind of explorer type. I'm saying English, and the only reason I'm saying that is because he's got like a tweed jacket, and he's got elbow patches, and he's a bit sort of like nervous and quite. He's got that sort of combination of sort of there's something that's pulling him to be there, but he's also feeling kind of quite anxious about what's going on. And there's this character who's kind of a bit kind of rebellious and disgruntled about the fact that there isn't much flexibility. And this other character is kind of a bit I can see him willing to be a bit disruptive or at least mischievous, or like he's going to get bored and he's going to there might be a little bit of he might take the mick out of this kind of anxious English guy, and also possibly wind the, I don't know why, but the sea dog guy feels like the captain to me. And the captain's going to get wound up by this kind of rebellious character, I think.
So the cargo, apparently it's about cargo, and the for me the cargo is on its way somewhere. but perhaps it's not even quite clear where the cargo is supposed to be heading. Like I just had this idea that perhaps if the course of the ship continues on its way as it is, it might just, set a ground on some island, and that's the end of that. Maybe that's the whole point of just hitting an island somewhere further out and have everything stored on that island for some safekeeping. It almost has that sort of feeling to it, as if, yeah, this arc idea of saving some knowledge, of saving some technology, and not necessarily, yeah, just saving it, storing it. But there doesn't seem to be a certain address where a certain port where this and purpose where this ship is heading. That's what I also am getting. So is there a certain destination for this journey? It's more like for safekeeping than anything else.
Yeah, and the captain feels for me very much like they believe in the destination of the journey as much as any ordinary captain would if they actually knew where it was going. But the captain is there very it's like if anybody tries to point out to the captain and say, well, where's this going? The captain's like, we don't know where we're going, but that's where we're going. Like there's a solidity in him to the direction of the thing, even though he nor anybody else on there can really can say where that is. It's like there's a real deep confidence in him that it's like, this is where we're going with this stuff. And I don't quite think the captain understands what the stuff is either. But it's like there's a groundedness regardless.
Because there's some sense of importance of the cargo, and therefore also of the mission. The problem is, the destination, and I think that would wear down any crew over time if they don't know where are we actually going. We don't know. We haven't been told what the destination is, right? And even meeting other people, I was just having this image that if they would meet other ships on sea and then people would come aboard, I think they would be very happy about that, the crew of this ship. So they would go like, hey, come on board, and finally other people. so it's like this never. It's like, because they don't know how long this journey is going to take if they don't know what the destination is. If it's if they run aground somewhere, it's basically just bad or good luck depending on where they end up. So whoever they meet, unless they're malevolent people, pirates or something, I think they would greet anybody with quite some enthusiasm along that journey, because they don't know how long it's going to take. So any distraction from that, or people they could meet, I think they'd be happy to welcome them aboard and have some fun and a couple of drinks and all that. So this is like, I think there's a certain, as you said, weightedness to it, and so distraction is something they'd be quite happy about. It's my impression, because it has that, okay, we got to do this, let's go, that's the direction. Well, where are we going? We don't know, but it's important. People were like, oh,
yeah, okay. Yeah. There's this anxious English guys just getting all stressed about it, and the rebellious guys like all being all rebellious about it. But yeah, they would love to have some other people on board. I think they'd and
also show them what's inside of the containers. I think they'd be happily to give them a tour and talk about what's going on, be quite happy and proud, and then sort of be reminded why are they on this journey, and people go like, oh, that's amazing stuff you have there, like a little time travel machine or whatever they have, important stuff. And so where are you headed? Well, we'll find out.
Yeah.
The guests go like, what's going on here? So yeah, it's a weird mission. Let's put it that way, and it gives I think the the missing objective gives it a certain, yeah, I don't know, heaviness to it. Because if people,
Yeah.
if the crew would know, oh, it's only going to take us a week or a couple of days to sail to get to this other end of the journey, I think they'd be much more relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we just take a short break, because I have and step away from the metaphor and look at it and
yeah, good idea.
Because this is like a little bit of an experiment. So we're doing this live, and sometimes we're in the metaphor, and now we're stepping outside. And I just wanted this urge to comment on it and say, the weird thing is that actually now by doing it, I realized, yes, we never, well, we did these videos, right? These 4 videos, but we never said, who are these videos for? Who are we talking to? Like, who is this good for? Who would be interested? What's the purpose of this? Like, we just took this journey. We're sending out this stuff. It could arrive, but even if it arrives, we don't know where it's going to arrive. Like, it's a message in a bottle situation, right?
Yeah,
we're just sending stuff out into the seas of the internet, so to speak, and we don't know. We're sort of aware of the importance of it, but we don't. It just dawned on me. I just want to comment on that. That it dawned on me that that's what we actually did.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm being over explicit here to point out that it's a kind of self-reflection process by which you gain insight over your own situation. And that was a new piece of information for me. I've never looked at it in this way, and now I realize, yeah, you and me talked about who are we talking to, who is this good for, who do we send the videos to, who will benefit from that. We never did any of that. We just did it.
I'm also finding myself editing myself a little bit as well, because this is being recorded. Because and I don't know why I feel okay saying it now, but didn't in the game. That's a bit weird. But anyway, this rebel character, I'm wondering who's that, right? Like, there's a kind of frustration. They want to, the impression that I was getting was that they want to drink and have fun, and but there's something non-serious about that character, but he's on, and it's a he in my mind, he's on the ship for some reason. So what's that? And then this other character too, the kind of anxious, sort of fearful, kind of like new, fresh-faced explorer scientist type. And both of them would like other people for different reasons. And so I don't know what that means yet. But just for anyone listening in, and for us too, right? I wanted to just, I'm trying to work out what that's about.
Well, we could go back and look at that, because my idea would now because we were talking about layering these metaphors, and I think if you talk about layering metaphors, it's very difficult to know what actually are we talking about. Like,
yes,
I don't know. I read a book about mythology and all that. That basically our culture is layered metaphors, right? And when people talk like that, nobody really understands what that means, right?
Yeah.
What we could do now is just put another layer on top and say, I was thinking about this question there, who are the people on board? And again, who are we within that, on that ship? Like, if the 2 of us were part of the crew, who would we be? Like, and perhaps we can explore that. And also these personalities you were talking about, like, are we them, or are these people who we meet? So
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's what I would propose to do. Just now layer another layer on top of that and see what happens. And I think, again, what's interesting to notice before we do that is, again, this impression which I have, maybe you shared, is that, yeah, we're seeing the same ship. Like there's something, I mean, you're noticing different things, and but obviously there's, again, the sensation, yeah, this is the same ship we're on.
There was a little bit of, I noticed a little bit of friction at the very beginning when you described the arc, because you'd said it was an arc, and that clashed with my view of it being more kind of like a tanker. But as we, but then when you said, and this is key as well, when you said, oh yeah, I'm getting a kind of sense of it being a tanker, but it's kind of like it could be a spaceship or something, is what you'd said, and that was like so it's has a kind of arc like function, but the actual look of it is still kind of mid-sized tankerish. And we just kind of, it was like, in spite of noticing the difference, I just went ahead and said what came up for me, and we got a kind of amalgamation of the two really easily. At least in my mind, it's like, it was just, yes, it is an arc, but it's just more of a modern one. Whereas at the very beginning, I was getting images of, like, Noah's Ark, as like the kind of thing you would see in a, like a picture book version of the Bible or something, so yeah, I just wanted to lay that out, because yeah, this is a funny way of doing it too, right? Because like midway through, we're going back and reviewing what we've been through, which is useful for us as well as anyone watching, I think.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that's, and absolutely share that observation. Like, I was somehow feeling this function, but so the look of it wasn't that important to me, and even to agree then on a certain look of the ship was okay, as long as the function was still there.
Yeah.
And for some reason it was there, in the sense of being on a journey with an unknown destination, which was then the main takeaway for me. That, and also that we could even agree on that, because you might have said, well, no, maybe it has a destination and it has this and it has that, and then it would have taken it somewhere else, and that also would have probably been fine. But we were able to agree in general on a joint metaphor, and I think that's interesting always to observe that happens. And without, again, I have to reiterate, without us having any sort of agreement before we started the session. Like, we didn't sit down before and said, we're going to talk about that. So,
this is all just what's come up. Yeah.
So what do you think? Should we look at who are we on this ship, or should we say, who are we on this ship, and keep it as open as that? Or if we were part of the crew, who would we be? Or if we were on that ship, who would we be?
I'm intuiting that we would be crew, but then again, that feels like a little bit of a rationalization to just assume that.
Well, it's a metaphor, so we can see.
But let's So maybe we keep it open, and if we end up being crew, we end up being crew. Or if we end up being passengers, we end up being passengers.
Okay, so if the two of us were on this ship, who would we be? That's the what we're putting like on top of that. See what happens. Well, I don't know, I get for myself that I'm some sort of caretaker. I don't know what that actually means in terms of caretaker, or somebody who's the steward, not in the sense of the deck steward or something like that, but somebody who's.
I was getting kind of captainy vibes for you, but I don't know if it's like necessarily like steering the ship. I don't know, maybe you're financing it, and so like you're interested in the mission and you're on the ship, but maybe the captain characters like doing the nuts and bolts steering thing, but you're kind of like overseeing the whole thing. That's what I get. I don't know how you feel about that, but
I was thinking at the beginning more like shipbuilder or somebody like an engineer. I think and I wonder why it's not, I don't feel that strongly about captaining the ship, because the captain doesn't seem to have much to do on this ship. And she doesn't, it's like you gave this ship to the captain and said, okay, now, drive it into, or you don't say to a ship drive, but steer it into that direction. And that's basically it. So the captain is not so much related to the what the ship is carrying, or what the ship is about. It's
the captain's job is to like ruggedly insist and make sure that the ship just goes to its destination, which doesn't exist, but the captain has the same level, like I was saying before, has the same level of kind of like desire to get to the destination that he would have if he did know where it was going, but it doesn't. But there is, it's like so the captain doesn't quite feel right, but there's some, so you're saying engineer, ship designer, or maybe
something like that. There's something, I don't know, maybe some responsibility. There's a certain feeling of responsibility for the ship and the course, and it's more that I'm watching the cargo for some reason. I'm not. I don't know.
It's like you've maybe charted and helped design parts of the ship to make sure that that it can go, kind of thing. It's like,
it's, again, if you have this arc situation, you probably would have also a character who designs the arc or the ship which is supposed to hold King Kong when you get him from the island. So
you're the guy that you didn't design the actual hull necessarily, but you designed like the thing that was encaging King Kong. Like you made the kind of the upgrades to the ship that were needed in order to hold whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
And I'm the guy who says, like, get him over here, stop, not here, like,
and you're sitting like kind of overseeing. Is there a sense of do you have a sense of frustration with the fact that you aren't totally in control? Is there a sense of like how you I'm intrigued, because what I'm getting is that you're coping okay. The character this is, of course, is coping okay with the journey, but there's still a kind of like irritation that you're having to deal with the captain, and that there needs to be a crew, and that there's a sense of risk that you're uncomfortable about, like, and needing to rely on other people. Like it's like you wish you had all of the skills and you could have done everything yourself to make sure the thing went right, but there's a sense of you're needing to, you have to, just because of the way the world is, you have to be relying on these other people who may or may not actually be.
I don't know if that's necessary. I think, of course, I mean, we're just starting now. Let's see what happens in terms of what the relationships are between different characters on the ship. I think I'm the guy who chartered the ship, like, for this journey. So I got, like, of course, I got to talk to the captain and explain what's going on, and what's in the cargo, or maybe not. It depends. Maybe he just needs to know what he needs to know. So there's that. I think that's sort of the relationship. What relationship would I have with the other crew members? I still don't know who you are on the ship, so
Hmm.
be interesting to know that. In general, I think I'm fairly okay with what's going on. Up to now, we've we've done we've done okay. Everything's on board. These holds are really holding up nicely. It serves a purpose. I think was built properly. As you said, it's very sturdy. Ship functions really well. Everybody's doing their job. Maybe some crew members are not, as usual. There's always exceptions from the rule, but that's how you got to deal with the overall situation. So yeah, I think also, yeah, that the ship is not needed once one arrives. Like, it's not even the most important thing. So that's why I feel more related to the cargo and how it's the holds of it, the whole arc function is more important to me than the actual ship. The ship is just a vessel.
I'm wondering if I'm some combination, or maybe both, of that, the rebel character and the kind of anxious guy somehow. Like, I'm very much interested in the cargo, and I'm kind of protective over it, and also want to see it well used. And less concerned with the chartering of it. I think it's almost like, yeah, I feel like a kind of like a, if you were going out on some like science mission and you were going to be taking some submarine down into the depths, and you're going to be looking at the life that's living down there. It's like, I'm really interested in the kind of the science of that, and really interested in looking at the life that's going to be found there. And I have all these ideas about the life, but I'm also a little bit overfaced by say all the technology around the submarine. And I know I've shifted metaphors now into this slightly different, but it feels like there's something about these tools that are, it's like new ways of looking, and I'm interested in I'm wondering if the tools are actually alive, like if they're somehow, they're not just, there's some kind of hybrid science, kind of like a technology and life form somehow. And so I'm like, I'm protective of them, and I want to see what they can do, and I'm really interested in that. But this stuff about like charting the course and like hanging around with the captain, and that solidness, it doesn't feel like it sits very well with me. And I'm a bit nervous about, like, I'm looking out going like, where are we, not so sure where we're going. I can enjoy the view from time to time, but like my main saliency is around making sure that the life form / technology stuff is okay. I think, I don't know if your opinion is the same on me. I don't know if you've got a vision of what my
And
my
it
role is on the ship. But
sounds about right. You could be yeah, either a person who's like tinkering away, or even like piloting one of the, you said piloting one of these things. You mentioned like a mini submarine. I think, yeah, certainly one of these contraptions certainly is able to dive. I had the idea that one of these contraptions is able to fly, and so now and then, it's taken out and taken into the air to get a different perspective on where we are. So these contraptions, yeah, maybe they're partly alive, or there's some technology, and there's something. I always have this, I don't know, that's me, I get this Victorian image immediately of
yeah,
this gentleman inventor with his contraption.
yes,
And so chartering the ship, like again, this whole King Kong thing. And
yeah, right.
there's this part about it. So yeah, but taking out the things and diving and letting things fly while one is on the journey, just to see, yeah, does it still work? You can actually use it during the journey.
I think feeling simultaneously in awe and excited as the thing takes off, and anxious that something bad might happen to it. There's that, like, emotionally, I think when these things take off, that's how I'm like, it's like, oh, it's great, like how wonderful, it works. Oh, but it might fly and crash and die, so there's that tension held in me and my character, I think.
Yeah, maybe
That,
these machines are alive in a weird way, that I just was thinking that, yeah, maybe some of them have children, like small machines beside them or something like this. They just came popped up as an image. Which again has this, yeah, it's weird. Yeah, they sort of like breed, or something's going on. So they need some attention, and yeah, they're fragile. So this also have that image, the fragility, that there's always some risk when sitting in one of these things and taking off, that you go like, this guy's gonna fall down. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm pretty confident that they do their work, but I see the fragility. Yeah, definitely, that there's something about that which could go wrong. So it needs care.
I also don't think that I'm always the most rational. Like, I think there are some that are pretty solid and will do just fine, but I'm still worrying about them. And there are some that really are very infant-like. And so, I think, yeah,
there's this. Yeah, I'm wondering also why there's this secrecy around that whole thing. There seems to be a distinct sense of secrecy. Yeah, about that journey. Again, what is the destination? We don't really know. Why?
Well, you charted it. So what what do you think?
I don't know. I just thought weirdly when I thought, well, maybe they're alive and they're spawning children, that they need some area to flourish,
somewhere to live,
some tropical island where they can build up their own ecology, their own environment, because the environment is too hostile in general.
And we need to find out where that is when we get there, rather than, was there a reason for that, for not pinning it down? Do we know?
Probably I was told that's how you do it. Like, this is how you,
right.
This is how you do it. I just
I
did some research. I did some research on
it.
And then that's I found
that's what you do.
That's what you do. That's how you find a uncharted island or something like that.
You just go in that direction, and then
I think that's the point, to find the uncharted island, because if you know where the island was, then it wouldn't be uncharted.
It wouldn't be so uncharted.
People would know where it is.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fact that you read, like, because if it's okay with you for us to step out.
Okay, let's step out. Yeah.
Because the other thing that so we tried this other thing, which emerged actually quite naturally in the first one, right? Which was who were the characters on the ship, and that came to me in the middle of the first one, and then we've done that. But now we've really dug into this what's the cargo thing. But there's another thing that I'm really intrigued by now, which is like, did you read it? How did you discover that this was the way to go? Right. So did you find it on a website, or did you, like, that's what's coming up for me, is what am I seeing you interacting with in order to get this information? Which that is then, and this is the thing that we've always found happens when we play this, which is it's like you get metaphors and little parts of the world to explore, and then you'll find metaphors, different metaphors within metaphors, within metaphors, within metaphors. And, you know, or I don't know whether they're inside each other or adjacent to each other. I don't know the best, like geographically, the best way to describe it, but there's this sense of an unfolding of different little bits of the world to explore, each of which helps flesh out the whole, you know. The other thing I wanted to note was, like, I don't know why we didn't do this first.
What?
I don't know why we didn't do this first before we recorded the first 4 sessions. And I'm wondering why, because I feel way more, even now, and we could go on for, you know, ordinarily we'd spend like an hour on this. I'm feeling now more like I know what the last 4 sessions were for. But even though we did them before, you know, like I feel like it's like I get it, you know,
Oh.
you know.
Yeah,
and this great? Happens a lot too. I know, and this happens a lot too. It's like, why didn't we just? I remember, at the risk of going off on another total tangent, and then we can either get back in, or we can maybe look at some symbolic stuff. But I remember us fairly recently, actually, and we do this, like, at the beginning of each meeting, we'd have this 30 minutes to 45 minutes of like, oh, what have you been up to, nattering, like chatting, and then eventually we'd get round to playing. And then at the end of the playing, we'd always say, why did we do all of that stuff at the start? Why didn't we just spend the whole time playing? Because when you're in it, it's just great. Yeah, as well as being really fun, it does really deepen the understanding of whatever is going on. You know, it's like, why do we talk in the way that we do? Like, why, when we can be doing this instead, you know, like, I don't know. And you always forget, and it's always like, you only remember it once you've been doing it for a bit, like the awesomeness of it, you only remember after. And then we get back in this habit of like, oh, what have you been up to? Oh, I did this, this, and this, and here's a list of things and events, and, you know, I don't know. Anyway,
I believe that we've just been socialized to communicate with each other in that way.
Yeah.
And perhaps people weren't always socialized in that way, that when they were meeting up with each other, they wouldn't just strike off a list of events or things that they did, but would talk more like that to give an impression of what they had actually encountered, because maybe language wasn't that specific, and it needed some other descriptors. And anyway, but I wanted to get back to us again, but keep those thoughts in mind. I think they're very good. Again, the question is why didn't we do it earlier? I think is a good question. I think what you just said in terms of, oh, now I get it why we did it. That's a super interesting statement. Now I remember, or now I understand why we did that in the first place, which sounds a little bit nuts. But on the other hand, again, this remembering of purpose, right? The remembering of meaning. There seems to be so much going on which drives us into some sort of action, what we call motivation, and say, okay, I'd like to do this and this and this. So you have all this energy which is built up, and you translate it into action. You do something, right? You pursue a profession or a goal in life and all that. But what seems apparent, and just by this example here, we're not really conscious of why we're doing what we're doing. We just do it, right? And through this, you sort of like remember why, what is the purpose, what is the meaning, why did I set things in motion in the first place? And it makes you more content, more whole. I'd like to also point out that for me, it's a lot about novelty. I'm always enjoying this a lot because of the novelty and the discovery of completely unknown, until then unknown bits and pieces of insight and information. Like in the first session, this not knowing what the destination is and then saying, yeah, that's true. I didn't even know that for some reason. We just did it, but and now in this. And the second part is this whole aspect of ecology. And yeah, there's this idea, and maybe it's a very high ideal to say, well, these ideas, it would be good if they could be in an environment in which they could flourish, right? So that is actually, yes, I'm actually motivated by that. And since I don't know where that environment could be, you just set the whole thing into motion and hope for the best that you will find that environment in the unknown waters, right? So it makes more sense to me now, and I'm slightly less frustrated about the whole project. Like just reflecting on it in this way, I go like, that is interesting. It's interesting and it rings true to me. I wasn't really aware of that, but yes, that is part of the whole journey.
And that thing about the not knowing and the charted, unless it's that thing, it must be uncharted in order for it to be the place where it needs to be. We need to not know. If we did know, it wouldn't be uncharted anymore. And that little realization is, I think, really important, because we constantly, and again, there's something about the culture, that we constantly need to always know where we're headed all the time. Like there has to be some end destination, and there's a kind of assumption often that if you don't have a destination in mind, then you'll never get anywhere worthwhile. You know, whether it's like you've got to make your business plan and then make sure you follow it to the T, or you know, you set out on a course of study and you need to pass all of your units and modules along the way. There's this sense of like needing to map everything out and decide where you've got to be before you've got to be there. And yet, anytime you're doing anything novel or doing anything creative, if it's genuinely creative, well, of course you don't know exactly where it's going to be. You know, of course there's got to be an open-endedness to the thing. Otherwise, it's already been done before. And that realization wouldn't have been made or felt in quite the same way without us having just done this thing.
Right. I mean, yeah, I see two things here. One is, as you said, there's this myth of the objective. Okay, so I think we work with these objectives all the time. And there's like this has become sort of a standard practice, but I would argue that anybody who's worked a long time with this system of goal setting and destination realizes after several cycles that there's something which is emergent along the way, right? So there's probably nothing, you know, terribly bad about setting objectives and communicating where you'd like to go and avoiding the frustration of not knowing that. But the pitfall of that is if you focus too much of it, you actually miss out on the much more valuable emergent things which are happening. You know, it's an old saying, you know, what's the way is the path, no, the path is the goal or whatever. But
yeah,
that is true in so many ways that most people will tell you, well, I was just very attentive to what was going on, and that's how I noticed this particular opportunity, right? It's not that people had this fabulous idea and they just walked out and did it and became rich. It's because they discovered something along the way which they realized was of specific value or novelty or had, very special qualities that they made this kind of discovery, or whatever it was,
Yeah.
that then helped them really to succeed, or to find their life's aim. So there's this whole thing about emergence, and it's widely discussed, and blah, 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 but where I think it's clear by now that these objectives cannot provide that, and are probably also not the most effective, efficient way to go anywhere. It sort of just gives you a certain direction, but that's about it.
Yes.
So whatever the important stuff happens along the way, and also business opportunities, learning opportunities, relationships, ideas, they emerge as you go out.
Yeah.
Now that's number one. Number two is, I think that part of the challenge, what we did with these videos of not really knowing who to address, was exactly that part that perhaps you, definitely me, felt that if I address it towards a certain known entity like universities, business people, coaches, therapists, the responses are known. You sort of like feel already how people would respond to what this is, and how to try to make sense of it, how to either dismiss it or try to find value in it. And I'm not sure. I'm just not sure at this point that this is the right destination for this arc. It should be an ecology where it flourish, where it sort of multiplies, where that would be great. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what that could be.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
which is what all of the babies and the fact there's the aliveness of the tools on the ship was about. I think this sense of an ecology and
this children part is interesting, because that made me very happy. I don't know why, but that's a very happy thought, that there's children. So I don't know,
these little sort
machines.
of half robot bio things, like little.
That's a happy making thought. I don't know why, but
I like that as well. I very much liked it. It makes perfect sense.
So how do we what do we do next?
Do we want to do some symbolic thinking now?
I think I think we've been doing a lot today, and I feel, well, either we do another round of, another layer, another metaphorical layer, I think, or we just end it for today. I don't know. The point was, this is like a demonstration of metaphorical thinking. We did like these two layers. We didn't look so much at our relationship between the two of us. That would be also interesting.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, let's do that.
I don't know why these two characters. So maybe we can do that and then finish
and leave it.
Yeah, leave it where it is.
Maybe do some symbolic stuff another time if we fancy. Okay. So I'm hanging around with all these animals, kind of, I feel like below deck. Like, I'm saying animals now, but they're, these kind of half animal, half tool, like scientific things. And I'm kind of fixing some of them, like feeding some of them. Like, that's where I am. I feel like you're above deck, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm probably talking to the captain or discussing something, how to, deal with the crew, and why it's still not clear, when we'll be arriving. I think I see, as my character, I see your character. I was thinking, I realize that you have a good relationship to these things, to these entities, to these machine animal entities, and that's what I could see happening. I don't know if I can trust this character completely, if he's so conscientious, but he seems to be having a good relationship, good access This seems to be good for the machines for some reason. Not quite clear to me why that is the case, but and also the whole understanding. I think there's probably not, apart from your character, maybe there's one or two other characters on that ship who do have an understanding of these things. Yeah, and how to maneuver them.
As you said that, I got I got an image of a woman, a female character. I don't know, like definitely feminine, kind of like a strong female character who like probably wouldn't take any shit, but was also quite caring of the creatures.
Yeah, creatures probably also good. There's this whole there's this whole idea that probably this is not the best environment for them. There's also something about that where I'm aware that this is a very technical environment, very confined. They need care to even survive in an environment like that. It would be better for them to be out in the open, like more like a farm-like environment. This seems to be quite stuffy, and so I'm sort of aware of probably if you weren't there, so you need to be there also to keep them alive, and otherwise probably they would die without people like you and her and others. So there's this danger of this not surviving the journey, because the journey is not, this is not where they that's not where they should be in the long run. Perhaps that's also a little bit my concern, that if they stay too long on the ship, then they won't survive.
Yeah. And is that where the mistrust, because you mentioned you weren't so sure about, is that where the trust comes from? It's like they can't stay here indefinitely. Like it's like everyone's just going to be trying their best, but that isn't necessarily going to be enough to hold it all in, or to keep them alive.
I don't know. I think they need also some technical tinkering and maintenance, and so I usually like take care of that myself. But they need also some compassion, and I don't always have time for that. I'm so reluctant about that. But I realize that this interaction that's why we take them out also on a regular basis, because they need fresh air and they need to do something. So they can't just be stuck in a cargo hold all the time. That's not good for them. They sort of get depressed. So what sort of relationship do we have on this ship? Yeah, probably we see each other regularly, or for what's it called? Is it called lunch on a ship?
We'll call it that, ship lunch. That's fine. Dinner. Whatever that is, yeah, that's fine.
We have a fairly small crew, maybe like 10 people maximum.
Yeah,
maybe 8 to 10. So we always eat together, discuss how the creatures are doing, what needs to be done, who needs to feed them, and what mood are they in, that sort of stuff.
I get that I get the impression of there being like bits of paper with like information on, like plans and strategies, and that are kind of passed around a bit, and like every day we need to fill in some forms about how well they're doing, or like making sure that they have all the right liquids and they have all the right. There's something quite technical. Right, I don't know where that's coming from, but there's something.
there's these blueprints, like I have these
Right.
gigantic blueprints, and I always
Yeah.
want everybody to study the
Yeah.
blueprints. But people are not interested, so I'm not. That's why I'm sort of like a little bit mistrustful that they really understand the blueprints.
Yeah.
Maybe there's also arguments. I think Nathan is definitely on board, but he's seasick. Like he's asleep definitely in a hammock, and he's just throwing up all the time. It's not he's not much use for
Oh,
anything.
no.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
and I think Heather is not too happy with the blueprints. She says that's not how they work. So you just
Yeah.
you don't get it. You don't look at a blueprint, and that's
Yeah. There's a
how
big
they
drive for yeah. If she's this female character, then if that is who she is, then this female character really thinks they should we need to get them to this wherever we're going and let them be free.
yeah.
That's
It's more about, she says, she's always saying it's about magic. You didn't understand anything. It's magic, you idiot. So,
yeah.
and I'm suspicious of magic. So maybe,
Yeah.
although they're alive, it's weird because they're alive, and obviously that can't be done through technology. Like there's something.
Sorcerer's Apprentice about it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's something like
Yeah.
Disney. There's this has this Disney thing about it where these
Yeah.
objects are alive, and so there is something magical about that. Of course, it has that. Yeah, we're coming into this movie quality now. I can see like clearly that this is like probably if we would put another layer of metaphor on it, it would become more alive, like a movie, like more colorful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the main conflict. Like as we steam out this discussion about magic, and that perhaps my character at beginning says, no, there's no such thing as magic, although these creatures are obviously not, they're not normal. Like,
Yeah.
there's something,
Yeah.
maybe it's about their origins or something, like how did they come into existence, and this yeah, this denial of magic, and that maybe some of the some of the technology used was actually not quite legitimate in terms of that it wasn't just technical. Maybe there was some magic even involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
mine's
maybe
tracking back to this rebellious character again. Because I think whoever that is, like enjoys a whiskey, and I think my character is kind of a bit terrorized by this character. Like there's a kind of like he's trying to give me, like, get me drunk, and do you know what I mean, and like and I'm just really passionate about these creatures. I think he's probably doing stuff, like trying to hit on the female character inappropriately. Do you know what I mean? And there's some reason why he's there.
Yeah, I'm just.
And I feel, like I want to ask you why he's there.
I don't have so much influence on the crew. I don't know, like maybe the captain put him there. I don't know who he is. Maybe we need him to run the engine.
Right. Yeah.
There's always one guy who's like the party pooper. I was just thinking about the whole magic thing, that there is obviously there's some conflict going on. I don't know what that is. Perhaps there was some magic involved, and I'm irritated by that thought as the character. I'm irritated by this whole influence of magic onto these creatures, and on one hand it fascinates me, on the other hand you know, there's this, it has this functionality aspect. This whole character has this functionality thing, Victorian age, industrialization, new things happening. Yeah, I just come to that real. What's his relationship to this magic potion idea that maybe in the end, yeah, there was some construction, but it just needed some spell or something, and then they came alive. And what does that mean? There's an unresolved question there. Yeah, this other character perhaps who's like more rowdy, maybe has some evil intentions, or like, you know, it's probably one of those characters in a story who's like out to sabotage the whole thing and blow it up with dynamite. And, you know, like this gets paid millions of pounds sterling by some evil East India company or something,
yeah,
to blow
to
the thing up.
destroy the thing, right?
So
yeah,
maybe there is something like that going on.
I think when I feed these creatures, I think I give them like mushrooms. Like there's different types of fungus, different types of mushroom. That feels like that's they kind of they either eat them, or I create like a juice, like I squish the mushrooms and I create like a juice to feed them with. And there's something about this guy trying to get me drunk so that I mess that up somehow and feed them the wrong stuff, I think.
I was thinking that you perhaps have like this mushroom farm in the hold of the ship, and they're growing these mushrooms. And I think that sometimes you're eating these mushrooms yourself. So like, I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to be.
Just to try, just to see, just to make sure they're right for the animals. So
right, yeah. So like having this discussion that you shouldn't eat the mushrooms yourself. Yeah, so maybe that's, and the whole magic thing, there's something very interesting for me in it, that this fiat aspect of magic, where you just say something and then it just poof, it's there, like that just happens. There's that which fascinates me, I think. Which it bothers me that I think as a character I still haven't resolved that, because I'd like to put it in a formula. Yeah,
there's something about that though, like a formula that where the mushroom juice becomes chemistry, so it has this magical quality, but then there's a way you can scienceify it, like it can. I feel like that's kind of possible, that you can kind of convert it into science. But yeah, this female character's not happy about that.
Yeah, and I probably have to eat those mushrooms somewhere along within this journey to understand that better. Perhaps that's one of the things my character also needs to do to get a dose of that.
Yeah, to really understand the
effects,
the magic, to see the magic and not just
not talk about
always talk about it, analyze it, measure it, make charts. Right.
That's funny. Okay, so so let's step away from that again, and again, this now, the more you try to layer it, the more it becomes narrative, right? Or what we discussed, I think last time, or the time before that. No, last time also narrative. This aspect that it becomes more of a narrative than before.
Yeah.
More and more, and that when you're in the metaphorical world, you can sort of feel the narrative. Like, okay, in the beginning there was a ship, it had a course, a journey, that sort of already was slightly, but it was like, I had the more impression of like it's something where I was outside of it, two-dimensional, and now it's becoming more and more alive as we put more layers on it, more relationships, more, we could do another
Yeah.
metaphor and another one.
There is something definitely filmic about it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Definitely. Like we even talked about, films, who this kind of baddie who's, from the beginning's kind of a bit dodgy, but you don't know exactly the way in which she's going to be dodgy. And then, in fact, there's that guy in Jurassic Park, isn't there, who ends up like running away for the money or something and ends up being eaten by the dinosaurs. But there's always someone like that around that's going to ruin the thing, and
Right.
maybe that's his function. Actually, maybe that's just rather than it being anything intrinsic to our meaning making, that's he just fulfills this storification piece. So maybe he's not very important, but then I still found him valuable though.
And also we talked about this aspect of persona and character development, right? So although we didn't go into that now in terms of also crisis or further role play things we discussed, I think that what became apparent is again this idea of character, of persona, and of character development, and perhaps what you as an expression of your persona might need for your own development and I felt strongly about this magic, about the mushrooms, that these were definite next steps for the character as well for me to let the idea rest more that everything can be blueprinted and therefore replicated through this idea of technology and transferring it through blueprints to other people or all that. So that's also where this filmic quality comes in, where you already, as you say, from the beginning, you see a certain character, you go like, depends how it's written, but okay, this person needs a certain kind of experience. Right. So I don't know for your character what that could be, because he's already somehow on the edge between dodgy and caring and digging in the mud, but being attentive towards others. And so I don't know where his character is going in terms of narrative, but for my character, this belief in magic is certainly something to be looked at, and what it does. And of course, eating these magic mushrooms, like that's obviously something he needs to do. So this integrating the creativity, the inspiration, this whole aspect of visioning more directly into that seems to be something, and something also which is interesting for me as an individual.
Right. Yeah.
I guess that's the point I was trying to make. So you can look at that and those characters which you embody within them, and what we said also, and infer from those even for yourself something, and it becomes meaningful for you in some way if you'd like to do that. But I felt it's like an observation. When you feel you become excited about something within the metaphor, it's meaningful. It has salience. It's something where you as a person also become excited and say, oh, that is an experience I want to have.
Yeah, and I suppose it's trusting that, isn't it? Of like that it wants whatever it is, you're kind of drawn to that thing for some reason.
There was the sense also, I didn't express it, but the sense of origins, or maybe bringing them back to a place of origin. It just sounded a little bit too corny. That's why I didn't talk about that. But there was also that distinct, which is within a narrative, of course, nothing new. Maybe that they need to go to a place of origin to be able to survive, right? So that's also something which crossed my mind. I just didn't express it because it sounded a little bit corny or overused. But Also true. So
Mm.
yeah. And I think it would be worth going again into these relationships. I think we sort of like scratched the surface there, but I
Yeah.
think that was worth it. It was interesting to look at that. And
Yeah.
yeah, whoever that is who wanted to destroy the whole venture, I don't know who that could be. I don't know. Maybe it's just part of us who doesn't believe in the venture and like to just, you know, maybe see it crash and burn and get some
Yeah.
satisfaction out of that. Who knows? Maybe that's
Yeah.
the, let's say, the destructive side of us as people who,
Yeah. Which
you know,
is always worth keeping an eye on
yeah.
and looking for, and you know, not in a kind of yeah, I wouldn't say in like a really paranoid kind of, you know, kind of, but in a, oh yeah, like this is that guy, you know,
There's
the
some
one that,
connection also to money. Maybe, yeah, of course, like, you know, there's dark forces behind that person who have a lot of money. So it could also just be, okay, what if there's an opportunity to turn all of that into huge amounts of money? You know, what would happen to it?
right?
Would it blow up the whole
Would it destroy the whole
journey,
thing?
the
Yeah.
thing, the destination, this you know, magical place of origin, where it's headed?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That was fun.
Mm.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah. A lot of depth. A lot of depth.
And do you think we should have
That was
done that
great.
before doing these recordings, or was it now just
I
different
think so.
doing them? Ah, yeah,
Yeah, I feel like it.
okay.
I you know, yeah, I feel like it. But then, yeah, I
And
don't know.
why is that? Why is that a good
So
idea?
my intuition is that by doing it first, we'll have a shared experience that we can use to
Oh,
communicate
right.
with, and we can because we've built a little, like I've talked about this before, we built like a little, there's a bunch of cultural frames, you know, and we can say things like, well, where are we taking the tanker today, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that piece, but also to the degree which we might have been having concerns about where the recordings were going and who was seeing them, and you know, where do we share them to, right? So we've recorded these 4 things, and I've had this experience of like sort of sharing it to my personal social media, but then also there's been a couple of groups that we put it in, and if we'd have dug a little further into this and explored, it may have sparked a few other possible directions for that, where to share it to, or how, or you know, the degree to which it was going to be. Yeah, it'll give the thing a bit of directionality.
I agree.
Is my intuition, but you know, we haven't done it that way, and we've done what we've done. So, you know, who knows?
No,
But yeah,
I tend to agree, because it feels like now there is a common cultural not homos in the sense of
yeah, I like that though. That's great. Yeah,
a common cultural foundation,
right.
ground of common ground, which we then stand on and speak from. Like it gives
Yeah.
you, I have a sense that if you would do that before these sessions, you or us, we would be much more self-confident. There would be something
Yes.
propping this up even more in terms of what are we talking about. There's like
Yes.
the subtext of what you're doing, whereas again, this question of, okay, I'm motivated, I have some motivation now to do that, there's a certain type of energy, I don't know exactly what it is, I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
Now it feels like, okay, I'm standing on something and I can draw from that while I'm speaking about it. So
Yeah.
there's this, yeah.
I really liked hummus. I just want to dig it because it's like you've got a slice of bread, and what we've just done is we've made some hummus, right? And the past 4 sessions we've just been eating dry bread, right? Which is already, it's nourishing. But like if we'd have laid some of this hummus on, the whole thing would have felt more like complete.
Right.
I think that hummus came to you for a reason, and
Well,
it was so I can lay out this awful.
I meant the black nourishing earth which you use for growing plants. I don't know what's the term.
Oh, okay.
In German it's called humus, but in English I think it's something else. So
Oh, that's great that's hummus.
Mhm.
Because I'm talking about the Turkish, the chickpeas and garlic and all mushed up together. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't want I wouldn't want to eat black earth on it.
What is that? I don't know. Anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
I meant that. Yeah. So yeah.
I'm just trying to anyway, it's on the tip of my tongue. It's on the tip of my tongue. Compost.
Yeah, compost.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, right.
Compost. German.
Yeah.
Also compost, but there's anyway.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a great idea actually today again to do this. So thanks for that.
Yeah. All right.
So
nice one.
We'll see
Good
you
fun.
Hopefully in the next session.
See you next time.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye.